Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your listening and viewing environment. We are here with you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, scheduling permitted, to address whatever topics you might like to discuss, whatever topics you find challenging or that you find difficult to navigate. We are here because God is concerned about that which concerns you. And so, we are here for you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, which is brought to you daily by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature, it is untouched by man? It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock, where the water collects in a natural artesian aquifer, where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact, until you unscrew the cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. And for those of you who continue giving on the Give segment of our app, on the contribution pages of our websites at New Life Ministries International.com and New Life International CDC.com, and those of you that use the QR code or the link provided on Facebook and on YouTube, we thank all of you for your continued support and for your commitment as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here for you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. We are having a little technical difficulty that I'm trying to resolve, so I believe we are finally live. And as always, we're broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio, and we are here to get the new year started. So we want to make certain that everyone has the opportunity to maximize this year. Hopefully you got the best of yourself that you could possibly get in 2023, but we are in the start of a new year. And so we are here with you in 3D, broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio. And I'm going to remind all of our listeners and viewers, not only do we want to be connected with you in the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, but there are a lot of great things happening at New Life Christian Center, 400 Hillcrest Avenue, Wilmington, Delaware, 19809. So if you're in our area, come and worship with us. Service begins at 10 a.m. If you're not in our area, you can tune in for the Sunday sermon on our YouTube channel at New Life Christian Center Pastor Pope, and the Sunday sermon goes live at 10:45 a.m. So during the week, we want you to stay connected with us through our internet radio station, WKAPFaith.com, where we play music 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Now, I know some of you reached out and said today that the station had gone down. Well, technology at its best. We were down for a brief period of time, but the station is up, so you all should know that, because stay tuned in. Anytime you hear a disconnect, it is going to be restored. Sometimes there is technical difficulties in all that we do in technology. So I want to say to all of our listeners and viewers, I think we are completely set now and we are live. So you are tuned in with us once again, right here in the FijiWater.com sponsored studio. And I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers, who indicated that your husband has been working at such an intense pace in the last year that he has not taken care of himself. You said, what can he do to be productive while still taking care of himself? Okay, so that's a very interesting question, because for all of us, one of the things we want to do is make certain that whatever's going on, we are productive. But we also have to take care of ourselves. So the first thing he's going to want to do is pace himself. That's the very first thing. He's going to have to find a pace that he can work without burning himself down and burning himself out. And everyone's pace is going to be different, but we have to know our pace, and we have to understand that sometimes when we do not pace ourselves, God will cause us to rest in Him, whether we choose to or not. But we don't want to wait until that happens, because usually that requires that, He's got to render us limitedly immobile. What that means is you pretty much aren't going to feel like leaving the house. You're not going to feel your best. You're not going to feel 100%. And so it causes us to slow down. We can still be productive in that, but the one thing we want to do is be productive every day, every hour of every day. So in order to do that, we must pace ourselves. So having said that, in addition to that, I'm going to encourage everyone, it's the start of the new year, so I'm going to be on this probably for most of the month, just trying to make certain that we're doing everything that we possibly can to be the best version of ourselves that we can possibly become. So the other thing he's going to need to do is focus on his health and wellness. And what that means is eating right and getting some exercise. So that's going to be real important, that we challenge our eating habits. And what I mean by that is, we know what we've been doing in the past. But if those aren't getting the best results, we've got to change up what we're doing. So I'm encouraging everyone to examine ourselves and make some decisions on how we're going to change our eating habits. And then in addition to that, we've got to get exercise. So one of the things that I will encourage you to do is find the exercise that works for you best, depending on what region of the country you're in at any given time. You have to identify what your pattern is going to look like. So I'm going to walk everyone through this, because in our region of the country, we have 4 seasons. Now, wherever you are across the U.S. and wherever you are around the globe, that may vary. But for us, in our region, we have 4 seasons. So I don't work out the same during the winter that I do during the spring, summer, and fall. You've got to find what works for you. So for those of us, there are people in this area who, even in the winter, they want to go out and run. I don't go outside and run during the winter, unless we have days where it hits 50 degrees and there's no snow on the ground. If I can get that in, that's a good run for me. But that's not my preferred run. So I'm going to wait until the weather gets warmer to start running again, to start playing some golf, to start doing some things that I desire to do. But I'm going to exercise because I'm going to do floor exercises at home. We've got a total gym if I want to use that. There's enough work to be done at our New Life Christian Center complex that, I can move around the complex and get some exercise. You just got to find ways to get some exercise. The body in motion stays in motion. So you're going to have to encourage him to get some exercise. If you live in a warmer climate year round, you have the ability to get out and run continuously. The only time I get a run in during the winter is if, like I said, in our areas, if it's above 50 degrees, or if my wife and I are in Florida. That's the only time I can get a run in. And during the winter, I should say. But the reality is that I'm not going to work out the same during the winter as I would spring, summer, and fall, but I still have to find ways to work out. So you can do floor exercises at home. That is going to be significant in making certain that you improve your health and wellness. Eating is going to be one of those primary factors on improving your health and wellness. And then the other thing is going to be supplements. So I recommend to everyone, find the supplements that you need to enhance your health and wellness and take that regimen. Do it daily. I take supplements daily. And one of the reasons, when I say supplements, is basically, so I'll say this, it is and since you inquired for your husband, I take a multivitamin for men, I will take vitamin C, but it's not daily. And there's a reason for that, because I read an article. B12, which I have to take at the right time because it'll give me too much energy, so I'm not going to sleep effectively. But I do take it. Vitamin E, because it's good for your immune system. But I take vitamin D3 every single day also. Those are the vitamins that I take. Those are the supplements that I know work for me, particularly in my region of the country. He's just got to find what's going to work for him, talk to his doctor, go and get your annual physicals. Every one of us should know our numbers. We should schedule our annual physicals, make certain that we get our physicals and know exactly what we need to do and where we are in our health and wellness. And the rest is just pace. And so I want to share this with all of our listeners and viewers because this is going to be real important also. The other thing we want to do is maximize our time. We want to make certain that we get good use out of all of our time, every single day. We want to make certain that every day we are using the time that God gives us to be productive and maximize our success. So many of you have heard me talk about this before. We, first of all, have to learn to run our lives like a corporation. You have to recognize the importance of scheduling our entire day. So I've told everyone this over the years. One of the secrets to time management is running your life like a corporation and understanding that you have a minimum, a 10-hour workday. So, the Bible says work from sun up to sundown. So let me say this to you. There are 5 major segments to business. And you want to give each of those segments 2 hours a day. There's administration, there's development, there's management, there's marketing, and there's operations. 2 hours to each of those segments is a 10-hour workday, minimum 10 hours. Now, if you have more work to do than 10 hours, I encourage you to do it. But you've got a minimum of a 10-hour workday. And you have need of at least 8 hours of sleep. I know people say they can function on less. You can function on less, but why would you want to? You want to perform at peak performance. You want to make certain that you're maximizing your success. So I encourage everyone, you want to get at least 8 hours of sleep a night. If you can get more, great, but 8 hours of sleep minimum. And because your body's going to do most of its natural healing between the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., you want to make sure you're not messing that up, but you really want to get at least 8 hours of sleep. So now what we're facing is that's an 18-hour day that we focused on peak performance. That means we all have the same amount of time in a day. That means that you have 6 hours left. And what you do with those 6 hours are going to determine whether or not you are successful or if you maximize your success. What are you going to do with those 6 hours? Now, obviously, there's some things that are involved there. So I'm going to lay those out for you. You want to get your heart rate up at least 30 minutes a day. So that is going to take at least 30 minutes. You want to get some additional exercise in. So your workout and your, for us men, shave, shower, you're talking about basically an hour to an hour and a half daily. So that leaves you 5 to 4.5 hours. If you've got commute time, what are you going to do with that commute time? if you don't have commute time, then you still have 4.5 hours. And what are you going to do with those 4.5 hours? So you've got, for me, it's going to be study time. It's going to be prayer, meditation. So that's going to take up, out of the course of my day, that's going to take up, realistically, that's going to take up the rest of my day. So I can incorporate certain things into what I said to you about administration, development, management, marketing, operation, because all of the other things we do, so I'll give you an example. We have a food pantry and at our church. And when I'm working in the food pantry, that's still part of marketing the gospel in the sense of showing the love of God, serving others in the community. That's also part of operations. So that's basically, I can put that category under 4 hours of marketing and operations. There's administration work that needs to be done. There's development work that needs to be done. Development can be business development, personal development. So you could also put some of the things you may need to do under that category. But as a whole, we all have the same 24 hours in the day. We need to use them effectively and efficiently. So I'm going to encourage everyone, since this is the beginning of the new year, to make certain that you don't waste any of God's time. That every hour of your day is dedicated to something that's going to bring God glory. Because that's what it looks like when we maximize our success. Then we begin to put ourselves in a position to enter into the fullness of God. So let's make certain that we really maximize this year. And in order for your husband to do that, he's going to have to pace himself. He's going to have to take care of himself. And he's going to have to focus his energy on just doing what he knows will bring God the glory. Maximizing his success to bring God the glory. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you are not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you into our queue so that you may become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill. T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers. Pardon me, I'm having a little issue with my sinuses today, my allergies. But before I go into another communication, I just want to remind all of our listeners and viewers that this segment of the broadcast is brought to you by PorscheAmerica.com. If you are in the market for a high-performance automobile, one of the finest high-performance automobiles ever manufactured, go to PorscheAmerica.com, where you will have the opportunity to virtually build out the Porsche you desire to own. And if you're in our area, you can simply go to PorscheDelaware.com, ask to speak to Mike Didio, who is the general manager at PorscheDelaware.com. He will have someone scheduled an appointment for you. They will assist you with selecting the Porsche you desire to own. And if you currently own a Porsche and are just in need of service, go to PorscheDelaware.com, ask to speak to Mike Adams, who is the service manager. He will have someone schedule an appointment for you. They will pick up your vehicle at your home or office, drop off a loaner vehicle to you, and return your vehicle to you when your service has been completed at PorscheDelaware.com. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you have found that you do not have much in common with most people. You said you are committed to your success, and most people are committed to the status quo. You want to know, how do you get family members to be more inspired, to become successful and maintain their success? So, pardon me, this is the reality. I need a drink of Earth's finest water, Fiji water, from FijiWater.com. Bear with me, because I've got drainage going on today, and we are live, so you are going to hear the sounds of allergy. But stay with me. Here's the reality. The reason that most people don't have anything in common with you is because that is the difference. You choose to be successful. You're committed to building success. Most people are just satisfied with just being average. Most people are, so you said, the status quo. That is the difference between you and others. The reality is that you want your family to be successful. I get it. And you encourage them to be successful. Once you've done that, you've done your part. You've encouraged them to focus on their success. You can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make them drink. You can lead someone to the starting line, but you can't make them run the race. The good news is, if you take them to the starting line, they'll at least know there's a race in front of them to run. Now, how the pace that they run that race is going to be entirely up to them. The truth of the matter is that you've encouraged them to be successful. That's taking them to the starting line. Now they have to decide whether or not they're going to start to run that race, or if they're going to get off the course at some point and try to manipulate the course. The reality is that many people are afraid of success because every step that we take that leads to more success requires us to work twice as hard to maintain it. You see, with success becomes more responsibility. And how do we know that? Because the scripture says, to whom much is given, much is required. I like to use the analogy that the more you receive, to whom much is given, the more that is required of you, the more responsibility you have. So many people are afraid to take on that kind of responsibility. So they'll find every reason to avoid the responsibility. They'll find every reason, they'll find ways to justify why they're not pursuing their success, why they're not maximizing their success. So, and the reason is because they would rather focus on the distractions that give them temporary gratification. So there's something that identifies as immediate gratification. And then there's something that is identified as temporary gratification. And then there's delayed gratification. Immediate gratification means I'm going to focus on what's going to make me feel good at this very moment. Temporary gratification implies that you're going to do something that's going to gratify you, maybe not just for a moment, but maybe for a period of time, but it's only temporary. Delayed gratification means I'm going to work to maximize every opportunity so that at an appointed time in the future, it will benefit the quality of my life. And what most people struggle with is they prefer immediate gratification. Many people then will focus on temporary gratification. But only few are called and only few are chosen to focus on delayed gratification. So you have to say to those that are your loved ones, let's focus on being successful and let's focus on maximizing our success. And then you have to be okay with whatever decisions they make. You know, when you're dealing with grown adults, you need to know that grown adults will make their own decisions. And you have to be okay with whatever decisions they make for themselves. You say it, you say what needs to be said, and then you just have to be okay with it. And what we have to learn to do is not then take on the responsibility of their burdens when the consequences don't feel good. Just like we have to be okay with the decisions they make, we have to be okay with the pain that they go through with those consequences. And what I mean by that is we cannot get in the way of what God is doing in their lives. Because God is doing something in all of our lives. On a daily basis, He's doing something in all of our lives. And so with that said, we have to recognize that we're not responsible to interfere with what God is doing in their lives. Let me say it that way. Because we feel the pain, we feel it necessary to interfere. There's progress in pain. There is. We have to feel something to move forward. You know, when you're growing, you grow from a baby to an adolescent. You grow from an adolescent to a young adult. You go from a young adult to what I mean by that is someone who's not completely at their level of maturity. Then you go to a level of maturity as an adult, and then you become a senior citizen, and by then you should have enough life experiences to know that if I can get this thing right on a daily basis, I can avoid a lot of the consequences that I had to endure as I was getting to that place in life. Because you're prepared. You're prepared for the place that God has brought you to at that point in your life. We all can do better. Just encourage your family to do better. Encourage them to be the best version of themselves. And whatever God is doing, allow Him to do it. And just know that whatever He does is going to be better than what we could do. This segment of the broadcast has been brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, stop in at their retail stores. They have everything a man could possibly need. Or you can shop online at ctshirts.com. And The White Company, located in London, the UK. They also have a store on Fifth Avenue in New York. And if you're in New York, stop in at the retail stores because they have everything you could possibly need. Home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. And if you're not in New York, you can shop online at The White Company at thewhitecompany.com. Today's Daily Divine Direction broadcast 3D has been brought to you by Fiji Water. A taste of paradise will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery. And you will save money at FijiWater.com. May God bless you today. May God keep His face turned towards you. May God give you peace that surpasses